Coming up next on the Blerd Breakdown, we've got the rumor that the Russo brothers are not just taking over Avengers, Doomsday, and Secret Wars, but X-Men and beyond. We've got a rumor that Pryde and Gambit are both being cast for said reboot, that Lanterns has now cast Ulrich Thomsen as Sinestro, Neil Gaiman has been dropped by Dark Horse Comics, and Anansi Boys has been canceled. We've got our first Diddy or Didn't He of 2025, where Diddy is not only suing an accuser and a witness, he's also got proof, apparently, that the raid on his cell was illegal, and Jimmy Butler is suspended indefinitely for walking out of practice. All of that and more coming up on the Blerd Breakdown right now. What's going on, everybody? I am Winston Marshall, aka the Swaggy Blerd, and this is the Blerd Breakdown, the pop culture show for when you need to know. See, what had happened was, now, if this is your first time here, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, man. Hit the notification bell, and be sure to throw a like on this video. We're on our drive to 5, man, to get to 5,000 subscribers. We have been pushing along ever so slightly with each video, and I appreciate each and every one of you for that. Shout out to everybody that's been here for all the shows. As a matter of fact, I need to open up the, there was a last minute, super chat last week, and I need to pull that up, so give me just a moment so I can read that, because I feel so bad. It came in literally at the buzzer as I had just cut the stream, and I saw that, so I want to give some love to the person that sent that. So give me just a moment while I bring up that, and then we'll get the show started, man. Yes, that came in from Box Office Jack, who gave a very generous super chat and said, just saying hey, and thanks for all that you do. You, Koi, and half of the time Roka are my go-tos online. Box Office Jack, man, I greatly appreciate that super chat, and I appreciate the love. I really enjoy doing this from the standpoint of I love interacting with you guys. I love, being able to do this as even like a part of my living is super fucking dope. And I only get to do that because of y'all, man. So I really, really, really appreciate it. So thank you so much. Now, so a couple of things. I don't have it up here right now, but it's still here. We've got the moving fund. We're going to be moving in about 9-10 days. So please, if you feel so inclined, please go ahead and throw in a streamlab.com / the Swaggy Blerd / tip. It should be right there in the chat. You can go ahead and leave a message if you'd like, things like that. LA is expensive, man. It's expensive out in this bitch. We had a situation where we had one place in particular that one fell through, and so now we're doing we've got a different place that has worked out just fine. So anything to kind of help offset that, I greatly appreciate it. And then we also have a goal for the super chats today. If we get up to 10 super chats, I'm trying to remember what I said I would do. I set the goal. Oh, we'll do a Swag Day Fun Day this weekend. For those that aren't familiar with that, I used to do Jackbox with the fans, and you guys can get in there and stuff like that. I'm going to give some more information about that. And then the last thing that I owe you is I owe you a Q&A. So I think what we'll probably do, there is a world where this Wednesday, because I will be on set on Wednesday, that I don't get out in enough time to do the show, do a live stream. So if I do, it'll be a pre-taped episode of the show. So that is always a possibility that might happen there. But if it's live and I'm able to get home in time to do that, we're going to do the Q&A that I owe you for the other super chat goal that we hit this coming Wednesday. The other thing I'm very excited to announce, I need to finish my editing right now, but I finished recording Sonic 3. I finished recording Captain America: The First Avenger. Both of those reactions. I'm starting to do reactions on the channel. So those will go up soon as well. I'll get you a full schedule on that. And that one of the perks that will actually come from my revamped Patreon and the memberships that we're going to be doing as well are the full unedited versions of those reactions. Obviously for YouTube, I got to clip them out and stuff like that. So that's why they're not out quite yet. But once that happens, we will do all that. But beside all that, man, shout out to everybody I see in the chat. I see Haskell, Todd Steven Burrows, Blue Milk, everybody that is rocking with me so far. I appreciate you. Let's just get right into the stories, man, and the real reason why you are here. All right. So first off, the Russo brothers are apparently in line to oversee the X-Men reboot and more after Avengers Secret Wars. This is from Josh Wanting, A Comic Book Movie. There's no denying that Marvel Studios struggled to find its footing after Avengers Endgame, after losing several actors and filmmakers, not to mention suddenly being tasked with developing TV shows alongside movies. Kevin Feige has occasionally struggled to keep the multiversal saga on course. The removal of writers Jeff Loveness and Michael Waldron from the next Avengers movies and the return of the Russo brothers was seen as a righting of the ship by many, and now the filmmakers will helm Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars. Beyond that, well, they're going nowhere if a new rumor is to be believed. According to insider Daniel Rickman, the Russos aren't walking away from the Marvel Cinematic Universe when the multiverse saga ends. Instead, they've already signed a deal to oversee additional projects for the next saga, including Marvel Studios' X-Men reboot. Whether they'll direct any of those remains to be seen, though we wouldn't exactly be shocked if Feige chooses them to take charge of the MCU's first X-Men movie, as that needs to be a hit if mutants are going to thrive alongside Earth's mightiest heroes. As you may recall, recent rumors have pointed to Mr. Sinestro being the big bad of the X-Men franchise, something I would absolutely love, something we've long suspected after Fox's efforts focused on Magneto, not to mention Sinestro's prominent role in X-Men 97. The Mutant Saga next big event, meanwhile, is rumored to be Avengers vs. X-Men, and that's a movie we could definitely see being on Joe and Anthony's radar. Of course, the duo might not be alone in being part of the next saga if recent reports about Robert Downey Jr.'s future as Dr. Doom are accurate. It's been widely theorized that the upcoming Doomsday and Secret Wars might pit Earth's 616 mightiest heroes against Earth 10005's X-Men, and while that still may happen, it seems Marvel Studios is looking to save the concept for Avengers v X-Men, which arguably makes more sense once that new MCU team of mutants is properly established. I think you will see that continues in our next few movies with some X-Men players that you might recognize. Feige teased last November. Right after that, the whole story of Secret Wars really leads us into a new age of mutants and of the X-Men. Again, it's one of those dreams come true. We finally have the X-Men back. Avengers Doomsday is set to be released in May of 2026, with the Avengers Secret Wars scheduled to arrive in May of 2027. All right, man. So I hear that, and honestly, that gets me pretty excited. I meant to do this so that I could, there we go, so that I could put the chat right in my face. Perfect. But yeah, I am actually really excited about that for a number of reasons. I mean, the first one being that the Russos, in my opinion, have not gone wrong with any of the MCU stuff. I fucking love seeing that. I wonder what I'm like in 1.5 speed. That shit must be crazy. What's going on, JMB? But the Russos have never missed, in my opinion, when it comes to any of the MCU stuff. People could make the argument one way or the other that, you know, some of their other films have hit and missed here and there. But overall, I think their work is always quality, especially when it comes to the superhero stuff. They really know what they're doing. They really know how to handle the ensemble of it all. I mean, both the Civil War and then Infinity War and Endgame, they were fantastic. If they're really on board, if they got a chance to go wet their whistle and they're like, you know, we've come home and this is where we want to, like, stay and make our bread and really help bring in this new era, I'm here for it. And even if they want to shift more into like a producer role and kind of be like the immediate right hands to Feige as far as that goes after these two movies, I'm cool with that too. What I need more than anything, especially with the X-Men here, I need consistency. I need quality shit. That is what I need out of this, because in my opinion, the X-Men have had a tendency to be probably some of the most beloved teams and things like that in like across superhero stuff. Like, it's not even close. Like, obviously the Avengers have done exceptionally well and at the box office, but that's kind of because that was the hand that was dealt one way or the other. Those X-Men movies really helped pave the way. The problem was they were just very hit or miss. They were very up and down. And the storytelling of the MCU, at least the first three phases, was so good and so consistent that became the new gold standard. So I just think that what you want to do is you want to take the fervor and the love for the X-Men, and you want to give it that same quality storytelling that you saw at the beginning of the MCU. And if you do that, you're printing money again. Realistically, you are printing money, and I think especially for those that aren't familiar with the Avengers versus X-Men storyline, it's one of my favorites. It is specifically focused after the House of M and after No More Mutants and all that, and there's virtually no mutants left on the planet, and the Phoenix Force is coming back to Earth, and it's coming straight for Hope Summers, and the idea is mutants go, oh my God, with Hope able to control it, she's been training to do this. She could help give rebirth, as the Phoenix Force is supposed to help spawn rebirth, could rebirth mutants. Mutants could come back. The Avengers freak out because obviously the Phoenix Force is a cosmic force of nature, and in the same breath that it is allowed for rebirth, it can also just destroy on an epic level. So they're terrified of it, and they're especially terrified of if none of the vessels could actually keep, the bird, the cosmic bird intact, it could destroy the Earth and all that. So they're like, absolutely not. We're not letting the Phoenix Force get there. Obviously, they're like, give us hope. We'll figure something else out. And the mutants are like, no, and you're not going to take that away. And Scott helps lead the team against the Avengers, and there is a big fight that ensues. I highly recommend that book if you haven't read it. It's sitting over on my shelf right over there. I would definitely say check it out if you have the time. I would be very curious to see how they evolve that storyline because, again, that is one of those things. Let me take this down for right now. We'll put it back up during the stories. That is one of those things that I think would genuinely just be super, super fire. I think if they pull it off, and I think what you do, you probably go the way Civil War did. You keep the idea of registration that the Sokovia Accords were. However, you warp it so that it works in the world that you're living in. Even though we have all of the characters, unless you were going to, in my opinion, make it almost a trilogy just based off of how that goes, it sounds like maybe a 2-movie situation again, 2 3-hour movies as they did, is like maybe another Avengers break. That might be the way that you handle that. But I'm curious what you think, man. Let me know down in the comments what you think about when you hear that story, if you're excited about the Russos taking over. But I'm not done talking X-Men right now. Our next story kind of continues that on, and some very particular casting news. It has been rumored that this X-Men reboot is currently casting actors to play both Kitty Pryde and Gambit. Now, this is also from Comic Book Movie. This is Mark Cassidy writing. When Channing Tatum made a surprise appearance as Gambit in last year's Deadpool and Wolverine, it was assumed that he would reprise the role if Marvel Studios decided to include the character in the planned X-Men reboot. But this may not be the case. According to Scooper Daniel Rickman, a recent casting grid reveals that Marvel is currently searching for actors to play the Ragin' Cajun and Kitty Pryde, aka Shadowcat. This isn't the first time we've heard that Kitty Pryde would be a part of the team, but if this is accurate and the studio is also looking for someone to play Remy LeBeau, aka Gambit, it's obviously suggests that Tatum will not be returning, at least not for the X-Men movie. Tatum could still make an appearance as a fan-favorite mutant in Avengers Secret Wars, which has been previously rumored. We have also heard that Stranger Things alum Sadie Sink is up for the role of Jean Grey. There's interest in both Cynthia Erivo from Wicked and Ayo Edebiri from The Bear to play Storm. Though Marvel does finally appear to be making progress on the elusive X-Men movie, official updates have been few and far between. All we know for sure is that Michael Leslie is currently working on the script and that the director is being sought. If some of the X-Men make their debut in the next Avengers movies, which they are rumored to do, there's a chance we could get some official casting news fairly soon. During a recent interview with Discussing Film, Kevin Feige was asked how it feels knowing that we're closer to seeing the X-Men and Avengers together on the big screen. It's extremely emotional on a personal level to have done a movie with Hugh after 25 years of me being in a small part of that first X-Men movie, and knowing that thanks to various corporate studios entity deals, we now have thousands of characters back, characters I hadn't frankly thought about in many years because we didn't have the rights to them. Now that we do, it's great fun thinking about who we can finally. Our animated series X-Men 97 was sort of the first taste of people reuniting with the X-Men mythology and that storyline. The response to that series just further excited us about how we can bring the soap opera and the saga of the mutants to the MCU. Alrighty. So, you heard everything that's going on there. I really did love Channing Tatum as Gambit, but I think that probably that's a good idea to not necessarily move on with him, even though he's fantastic, because it sounds like they're trying to go young. If you're getting Sadie Sink is significantly younger. It's not to say that Gambit couldn't be one of the older members of the team, but Jean tends to be one of those older members as well. So if you're going with a younger Jean, you kind of need a younger Scott. You need a younger kind of everybody. The only one that would potentially be older, and that's fine if you want to keep Hugh Jackman, if he wants to keep doing it, because he keeps is that, but he will age over time. So unless they're going to make him like AI him almost, God help us, to like just keep him super young, he should be consistently essentially at the same age all the way through. It'll be interesting to see kind of how they handle that. First of all, shout out to Tyler. I do see the super chat. I'm going to save the super chats and whatnot for the end once I get through all the news, but I do appreciate you. And again, for anybody that would like to, you can indeed throw in a super chat or a Streamlab. There's the link to both of the Streamlabs. We have two different goals here. Again, I'll get back to the story. We have the moving fund that's going on right there. Maybe I'll just leave it on there. That's fine. I didn't want to be ghetto and have that on every episode, but it's fine. So there's the moving fund there that we're trying to raise some money, and then the super chats as well for us to do a swag day fun day this Sunday. But getting back to the story, I think that Gambit and Kitty are two very important like additions to the team. I think we didn't get enough Kitty personally in the first few X-Men films. Obviously Elliot was fantastic as Kitty back in the day. And so now I would just Shadowcat just has so much more to get at, and I would really love to see where that's going forward, man. And then Gambit is one of a kind. We've really only got to see him twice. One was great and one was terrible, and both of them were too short. So I would love to really get some solid love on Gambit and how that goes going forward. But all of that being said, man, we talked about the Russos taking the helm. We talked about Gambit and Kitty. I will say I do not like the idea of either Cynthia or Ao as Storm. Not because they're not good actresses. They are. One, they're too short. It's not that Storm is some like giant or anything like that, but she is like a tall drink of water enough. Like let me see if I can find Storm's like actual breakdown here, because now you're doing the opposite. You had Hugh Jackman, who was huge, playing Wolverine, who's a shorty, and then Storm height. Yeah, she is extremely tall. She looks like a goddess, and not that they don't. But I'm saying she's 5'11", damn near 6 foot tall. She is almost an Amazon of a woman with the powers of a god. And it's not to say that you couldn't make them appear taller on screen, but you want somebody that gives almost an imposing kind of element to her. She is gorgeous. She is, awe-inspiring. But she like a big girl, and I mean that in like height. You know what I'm saying? Like this opposing kind of force. So like, let me see. Let's see. There was a couple of actresses that I thought would actually be very good. Let me make sure I am not messing this up real quick. Yep. So I think a very good person for the job. I think that Jodie Turner-Smith would be fantastic. I got to interview her for Without Remorse. She was absolutely stunning. Like Storm, we've also needed Storm to be dark skinned. She's a beautiful dark skinned woman, extremely talented. It's got a badass element to her. She was pregnant while shooting Without Remorse, doing the action scenes, man, which is absolutely crazy. Let me see if I can find her height, because I don't want to then be talking out of my ass. So she's 5'9". So we're already moving in the right direction, because, like, again, Ao, Edibiri, height. See, Ao, she's like 5'5", 5'6", and then Cynthia's 5'1". You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be like heightist or nothing like that, but like if we're gonna do this, I'm trying to tell you, we need a goddess, like a tall drink of water that will just as easily, like, be gentle and as the summer breeze and as fierce as a motherfucking hurricane. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really pushing for Jodie personally. I hope that she's at least getting in the room to talk and audition and all that. But we'll see. We'll see what they ultimately go with, one way or the other. Again, I want to know what you think about the Russos. I want to know what you think about Kitty and Gambit. Let me know about all that in the comments. Shout out to the other people I've seen come in here. Jeremy Miller, David Rose, Aisha Kenya. What's up, everybody? What's up? But let's go on to some DC news now. All right. So, The Lantern Show has found their Sinestro. Blacklist actor Ulrich Thomsen will be playing Sinestro. This is Josh Wilding at Comic Book Movie reporting. Now, there were early rumors that Sinestro would be a part of the DCU Lantern series, but when casting got underway and some plot details came to light, it was generally assumed that the Green Lantern Corps' most prolific and recognizable villain wouldn't be introduced in the first season. Now, Deadline is reporting that Danish actor Ulrich Thomsen from Counterpart, Banshee, and The Blacklist is set to play Hal Jordan's arch-nemesis, Fall Sinestro, in the show. This take on the character is described as a former Green Lantern who turned rogue and is ruthlessly yet undeniably charming. Sinestro's manipulative nature drives his enduring obsession with his former mentee, Hal Jordan. Thomsen will be joined by Kyle Chandler as Jordan and Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa, and Jon Stewart. Kelly MacDonald, the Radleys, Boardwalk Empire, is set to play the female lead, believed to be Jordan's love interest, Sheriff Carey, with Garrett Dillahunt on board as the villainous William Macon, a self-righteous, conspiracy-minded man who masks ruthless ambition behind a charming and calculated facade. James Hughes, Slow Horses, Penny Dreadful, The Mist, The Alienist, and Snowpiercer will helm the first 2 episodes. He joins a creative team that includes Emmy Award-winning Lost and Watchmen creator Damon Lindelof, Ozark showrunner Chris Mundy, and comic book writer Tom King. Justin Britt Gibson, Brianna Gibson, and Vanessa Baden-Kelly are also said to be on board. Lanterns will follow a new recruit, Jon Stewart, and Lantern legend Hal Jordan, 2 intergalactic cops, drawn into a dark Earth-based mystery as they investigate a murder in the American heartland. Production on Lanterns is set to commence early this year in the UK, potentially putting the show on track for a 2026 release. Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner, who is going to make his debut in Gunn's Superman reboot, is expected to have a supporting role in the series. Sinestro was previously played by Mark Strong in the infamous 2011 Green Lantern movie that we don't talk about. Okay, so all of that, love all of that. Every time I hear about the show, it sounds more and more fucking incredible. Like, I'm genuinely excited for this show, probably more so than I am about most of the shows that have been announced at this point. I think the only show that maybe rivals it and probably surpasses it, because I'm expecting, I don't know yet if Lantern's going to be good, but the team sounds incredible. However, this other show that's coming out, and I'm talking about Daredevil Born Again, that's coming in March, that's the only other show, like superhero show, that I'm more excited about than this, and that's just because if they really did go back to its Netflix roots, I already know what I'm getting, and that's quality shit. But Kyle Chandler is one of my favorite actors. You know, that's Coach right there, man. You're talking about Friday Night Lights, you know, Clear Eyes, Full Hearts. One of my favorite shows, and I've enjoyed watching his career as that's going on. Aaron Pierre, that's Mufasa. I'm going to do that every time. Understand, if I say his full name, I'm always going to do that. He is a star rising. I finally watched Rebel Ridge. I didn't bother to do a review for it, but I love that movie. But I will be honest, it went from a solid A for me to like a B minus. It lost a full letter grade and then some because of the ending. Realistically, that's the only thing I will say about that. He did a fantastic job. I liked what they were going for throughout that movie. That ending was whack, bro. I did not fuck with that ending. But that notwithstanding, I just have to say that I think that you've put an incredible team both behind the camera and in front of the camera to make this come true. And it feels like they are taking their time, especially knowing that Lanterns have been, you know, tainted because of the previous iteration in 2011 with Reynolds and all that. They are really taking their time. And that is one of the things that makes me genuinely appreciate that. So I'm fucking here for it. Let me know what you think in the comments. I see we're getting more folks coming in and more super chats. I thank everybody that's joining us today. Galaxy Geeks in the building. Richard Fearing. I see a lot of folks joining. And the super chats, thank you so much. I'll put this up again. If you'd like to throw up a Streamlab or a super chat, you can. The Streamlabs are going directly to a moving fund. The super chats are going towards a goal for a Swag Day Fun Day. So I got a lot of good stuff in there, and I greatly appreciate each one of you. We'll get to all those at the end. But again, let me know what you think in the comments about the Lantern Show, if you like the casting, if you like where it's going. And let's go into our next story. The next two are going to be a little bit more serious. This is coming back to, for those of you that know, I'm a big advocate of we need to call bullshit out on its face. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is a follow-up to Neil Gaiman. We talked about how he had some essay allegations come out in an article, and then he gave a rebuttal. Well, there's been some news on the front of his job. Neil Gaiman has been dropped by Dark Horse Comics and after the essay allegations, and Anansi Boys has been canceled. Now, this is Mark Cassidy from Comic Book Movie reporting. Now, following last week's New York Magazine piece outlining in disturbing detail new allegations of sexual assault made against Neil Gaiman, the acclaimed writer has been dropped by Dark Horse Comics. The publisher sent out the following tweet on Friday night. Dark Horse takes seriously the allegations against Neil Gaiman, and we are no longer publishing his works, confirming that the Anansi Boys comic series and collected volume have been canceled. As far as we know, Amazon's upcoming TV adaptation of Anansi Boys has not been affected by the allegations, and nor has a second season of Netflix's The Sandman, though a third seems unlikely. The New York Magazine piece titled "There Is No Safe Word" contains a number of sickening accounts of the events that are said to have transpired. If you decide to read it, you can find a non-paywall if you go to Comic Book Movie. But I also read a large majority of that article. If you want to go back and watch one of the previous episodes, I do need to finish my clip outs of the previous episodes of the streams. The streams are a little bit harder to clip out just because of how YouTube saves them. Doesn't matter. Point is, I will drop a lot of that, and it'll really be helpful once the move happens. Let's pause on the story for a second. Once the move happens, there's going to be a brief period of time where I'm going to be dark, so that might be one of the things is all that. I say all that to say you should check out the article, the trigger warnings on all of that, because it's not easy to get through, but I do think it's important to check that out. Now, shortly after the article was published, Gaiman shared a lengthy response to his personal blog in which he denies all the allegations against him. And I'm just going to read a small beginning excerpt of it because, again, I read through his entire thing already. As I read through this list of collection of accounts, there are moments I half recognize and moments I don't. Descriptions of things that happened sitting beside things that emphatically did not happen. I'm far from a perfect person, but I have never engaged in non-consensual sexual activity with anyone ever. Again, for his full thing, you can go to his personal blog, or you can check out the previous episode I did on this in which I explained, or I read all of his statements. So, really quick, before we get to, sadly, the other kind of dark abuser story here. The interesting thing about the Neil Gaiman stuff is that I know that there are no cases pending right now. I think the police dismissed them, if I remember reading that correctly. But those accounts were horrendous. They were absolutely gruesome, man. Again, I don't want to get super deep back into it just because I did already kind of give my thoughts and they haven't really changed and it's kind of heavy. But for those that keep asking, the reason why I keep doing stories like this and stories like Diddy or Didn't He, which is what we're going to talk about next, is because I think it is equally as important that anybody that has been victimized or that has had something happen, that their voice be heard, that it doesn't get buried under the news, because Lord knows we love to, bury the fact that a certain, felon in chief is out here doing all sorts of stuff. And, this show isn't political. I'm going to be doing a political show soon, but, he may or may not have said that now people have to be loyal to him as part of the job application. I'm not going to talk about that right now. My point is the news cycle loves to push things down. They love to suppress things. And so for me, I genuinely just feel like this needs to be talked about, that these victims and the accusers need to be heard. Now, I stand by the same thing that's always been said. We need to listen to all victims, listen to all accusers, and then we need to believe all facts. And in this particular case, I think there's enough here that his employer heard what was going on, saw what was going on, and was like, yeah, we're not going to rock with you anymore. It is what it is, man. And I think that that's the right move. I don't personally trust, based off of what I read, some of that was too specific, too graphic, and he has had stuff in his works that always made me feel a little uneasy, but I always took it as like, man, he's getting real here. But now it kind of comes off more as like, man, this motherfucker was kind of fucked up, so maybe he was just dipping into the well a little bit too much. That's the vibe I'm getting now, and it makes me really fucking uncomfortable. But But, who knows? More might come out of it. I didn't go into Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni recently, and I thought about including it, but between this and Diddy, I figured I would let more of that kind of go out, and we'll focus on this, especially because there was breaking news today that apparently a piece of shit TJ Miller is getting in the middle now and saying that Ryan Reynolds was mean to him and shit like that. Ain't nobody checking for you, bitch. You were an asshole. But all of that being said, again, I just want people to hear these stories and then you make a decision for yourself, because Lord knows the internet is full of bullshit. And again, that these women should be, and men, anybody that's been affected like this should be heard. That's my 2 cents on it. Let me know what you think down in the comments, man. If you're going to be watching season 2 of The Sandman after all this, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, let me know, man. Let's go on to this next story. I spent some time. I didn't finish it because it didn't get, I'm a little bit too much of a perfectionist. If I don't get something to where I like it, I refuse to drop it, which is my own kind of problem. But I kind of did an intro for this. It's not ready today, but the next time we do a Diddy or Didn't He, I will. But yes, let's talk about some more Diddy news. So the first bit of news here with Diddy is he is suing a witness and an accuser and the lawyer for defamation. Now, this is from TMZ. Diddy's going after a grand jury witness and a lawyer he claims has been spreading lies about him, accusing them of fabricating stories for media attention. The disgraced mogul is suing Courtney Burgess, a man who appeared as a witness for the grand jury, and Ariel Mitchell, Burgess's lawyer, for spreading what he says are outlandish claims and baseless speculation to feed the public's desire for wild lies. Diddy fired back at some specific claims in the lawsuit as well, calling out Burgess for alleging he possesses a video of the star sexually assaulting celebrities and minors. Diddy is going after a grand jury, witness and lawyer. Did I accidentally double? Yeah. No, I sort of double posted that. That's fine. The rapper insists no such tapes exist and says that Burgess and Mitchell are simply telling blatant falsehoods or making recklessly false statements. There was a purported Kim Porter memoir on Amazon earlier this year, but it was pulled after her kids denounced it and cast doubt on its authenticity. And Courtney claims he has the real deal in his possession. Ariel tells us they are going to work with Amazon to get this book published themselves, though they don't have a timeline. He is also firing back at Courtney's claim that he received Kim Porter's memoir directly from her, saying those closest to Porter, like her children and her roommate for more than 20 years, have never even heard of him. As previously reported, Diddy's children previously sent a cease and desist letter warning Burgess about releasing the Kim Porter book. Diddy's suing Burgess, Mitchell, and the company behind News Nation for defamation and is asking for at least $50 million. TMZ reached out to Ariel, who says, this is just a pathetic ploy to silence victims and people who stand up for victims. Diddy has time to sue, but refuses to accept service for the lawsuits already filed against him. I look forward to countersuing and ensuring the court punishes not only Diddy, but also his lawyers who filed this pathetic lawsuit for this frivolous and meritless firing. Okay, before we get to the second bit of news, man, couple things. I, first of all, am fully with her in the fact that he still hasn't really answered to a lot of these other lawsuits, but had plenty of time to drop what he was doing and go, I'm suing the shit out of you. Stop talking about my name. Put name on my, but fuck you. I'm trying to tell you, man, there is too much, what I don't want a bunch of random falsehoods mucking a lot of this up and then finding some sort of loophole that messes things up, because Lord knows, and I've talked about this before, the reason why Bill Cosby is not in jail is not because Bill Cosby didn't do that shit. He did that shit. It's because prosecution got so overzealous about making sure that he went down. They cut corners, and they ended up in a situation where his conviction got overturned because the prosecution was fucking around. Whether or not OJ actually did it or not, there's the prevailing theory that it was actually his son and he was covering up for his son the whole time or not. Once again, LAPD got overzealous and turned around and did some shit they shouldn't have been doing. And so then all of a sudden, here goes, OJ walking free. You did the most, man. You were planting evidence when evidence didn't need to be planted, and then you fuck shit up. So the one thing I want to make sure happens here, if this Courtney person is out here lying about shit, I hope he gets his just due, but I really need people, only the most legit of people and things that are going on. I want to hear from every victim and have their chance to get justice. But I don't need anybody coming up here and lying and mucking shit up, man, because you are then doing a complete disservice to the actual victims that are involved in this situation. I have said that one of the things that pisses me off more than anything is either A, somebody from a marginalized group putting hate or vitriol or making things harder for another person of a marginalized group, or B, again, someone from a marginalized group lying about a situation to literally end up where now it becomes harder for people to hear us. There was one story I remember about this black woman who was pulled over for a DUI, and she claimed that, ooh, I'm going to tell everybody that you call me the N-word and you essayed me and all this shit, and that's going to be your ass. You're going to go to jail forever. Black Lives Matter. Kept saying this shit over and over again. And then right as they were about to do a press conference to announce this lawsuit and to want to press charges on this cop, the body cam and the dash cam footage came out, and this was the most professional, I think it was his second year on the force, his most professional cop you've ever seen. This one was clearly drunk and openly admitted that she was going to do this shit. And it was so fucking infuriating because it was a mockery of every black person, every woman that has ever been in that scenario and has had their life threatened, they feel like, from law enforcement. But you also just gave ammunition to people saying, that shit ain't real, you're making it up. That is all I'm saying. I really hope that what Courtney has to say is legit, because do not fuck this up for these people that are trying to seek justice. Don't do this because you want your 15 minutes of fucking fame. You better be real on that shit. That's all I'm saying. But again, knowing everything that's been going on with Diddy, how the industry has moved about him, all that kind of shit. Justice Smollett's another one. That one in particular also really pisses me off. I think the only thing about it, and that's just sad, drugs are bad. Okay, that was fucking infuriating, and I'm still mad about it. But that is clearly a substance abuse type situation, man. So I need people to be real when they're coming. They need to come correct if they're saying stuff like this, because it's already hard for victims of any sort of assault, racism, etc. like that to get taken seriously. Don't make it worse for people. But let's go to the second story, because Diddy is not done. So Diddy is also, his lawyers are claiming that they have proof, this is also from TMZ, they have proof that the prosecutors directed the raid on his jail cell. Now, the infamous raid on Diddy's cell in the New York City jail was spearheaded by the very federal prosecutors who charged the music mogul with sex trafficking and other serious crimes, at least according to Diddy's lawyers, who say they have proof. Diddy's lawyers filed new legal documents flat out accusing Southern District of New York prosecutors of directing the new November 2024 sweep of Diddy's cell with the help of Bureau of Prison Correctional Officers inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center. In the docs, Diddy's lawyers point to a meeting between BOP officials and other federal agencies on the morning of the second day of the sweep to discuss a potential search of Diddy's unit. And they say supervisors from SDNY, including the Diddy trial team's unit chief, weighed in that search of Diddy's cell was warranted. Defense lawyers claim the other agencies inquired with the SDNY unit chief on whether a search of Diddy's cell was necessary. Diddy's attorneys say the SDNY chief ordered the cell to be searched in part because of what the prosecution team had learned regarding Mr. Combs' conduct at MDC. Diddy was trying to influence witnesses and the prospective jury of his peers while behind bars, so say prosecutors who filed legal documents in an attempt to justify raiding his jail cell. Diddy's lawyers say the chief then spoke with SDNY senior leadership, and they relayed that info ultimately to BOP, which conducted the search. Now, you may recall prosecutors previously said the search of MDC was planned by prison officials well in advance of his arrest and did not specifically target Diddy. Instead, they said it was to ensure the safety and security of staff and inmates. However, Diddy's legal team insists that this isn't true, and has accused the feds of raiding his jail cell to seize a bunch of privileged materials, including notes to his lawyers about the upcoming trial. TMZ reached out to the SDNY. They declined to comment. All right. This makes me nervous. This makes me nervous for a number of reasons. The main one is what I was saying before. Stop doing the most so that we end up in a situation where we essentially are not able to get Diddy for what he did. Clearly, this nigga did some shit, okay? I'm trying to stop saying the N-word so much unless we're on Blerds. He clearly did that shit. How much of it, what part of it, who knows? The fact that they kind of caught red-handed talking to the sons and shit like that, trying to intimidate witnesses and all that shit. But the same thing I said, Bill Cosby walked because of overzealous fucking prosecution. Like, this is one of those weird shits that is hard for black people. Some of the black folk in here might be able to help understand where I'm coming from here. I can look and see that Diddy and Cosby and them are actually fucking monsters, but then in the same breath, we watch the justice system genuinely fuck over black people. And so if they're so hell-bent on, like, we're going to teach this one a lesson, and not because he's a monster, but in this weird way of being like, this is exactly why you don't give the... What did Chappelle say as Rick James? I should have never gave you niggas money! Like that, that's what it feels like at times. Instead of going at them because you broke the law and doing it by the book, we're cut corners to like make it what feels like making an example. And I don't want that to happen. I want this man that clearly we saw the video of how he treated Cassie. I believe so much of this other shit that's been going on, especially when you see how Hollywood has been moving around him and even how he's moved in this entire situation. I truly believe that Diddy did a vast majority of this shit. This is all alleged right now, obviously, but I truly believe, do not fuck this up by being so gung-ho about it. Trust me, I watch enough, not just the OJ thing and the Cosby thing. I watch enough fucking SVU and enough Law and Order to watch the prosecutors where all of a sudden I'm not even rooting for your ass no more because you did fucking cut corners. So go fuck yourself. You know what I'm saying? Like, and Jeremy Miller, I see what you're saying. The thing that bugs you about it is the fact that he admitted it, that Cosby admitted it, and he was still able to get out. Again, that is because we need the justice system to work. And the only people that can really get it to work for themselves typically is people that have the money to do so. And so they literally end up in a situation right here where it's like, do not cut fucking corners. Just do it by the letter of the fucking law, and you will get there. And as Jeremy said, the shit that sucks is that Cosby did ultimately admit it, but because of the cutting corners, he got out. That is where you fuck over victims, present and potentially even future. You know what I'm saying? Because of any number of fucking things. So all that being said, man, those are the two Diddy stories. Let me know what you think about either one, about the lawsuit of one of the witnesses, as well as the push to say that the prosecutors did an illegal search and seizure. I really want to know what you think about all of that, man. Please be sure to tell me down in the comments. And again, if you would like to donate to the Moving Fund and ask a question or anything like that, you can, streamlabs.com/theswaggyblerd/tip, or you can send it in a super chat, either or. If we get to 10 super chats by the end of the show, which we're getting pretty close to, we're not there yet. We got about 15 minutes. But if we get it by the end of the show, I will be doing a Swag Day Fun Day this weekend, which will be a lot of fun. For those that aren't familiar with that, that's playing Jackbox with the fans and stuff like that. So it'll be really good to hear all of that. All right, let me go on to this last story. We'll talk a little bit of sports. I was initially going to talk about my Super Bowl predictions and my what went down over the weekend with the two games. However, this story popped up in the middle of the day, and I feel like I need to do this one. Jimmy Butler has been suspended indefinitely from the Miami Heat after walking her out during a shoot-around. It's from TMZ Sports reporting. Excuse me. Jimmy Butler very well may have played his last game for the Miami Heat. The team just suspended the superstar again, but this time there's no turntable for his return amid the ugly feud. News broke on Monday when Shams Charania, saying the six-time All-Star walked out of the team's shoot-around after learning he was losing his starting role to Haywood Highsmith. It marks the third time this month Butler's been hit with a punishment. He was suspended for 7 games back on January 3rd, with the team saying it would field trade offers to get Butler out of town. Suspended again last week after missing a team flight to Milwaukee, but was expected to return from his 2-game absence against the Orlando Magic in a matter of hours. Butler's beef stems from not receiving an extension with the franchise, and while he said he has love for the city, he's made it clear he's ready for a change of scenery. He's had no issue being in the public eye as his relationship with the Heat crumbles, as he was present for a padel tournament over the weekend, and even giggled it up with comedian Andrew Schultz days prior. It'll be hard to ship Butler and his $48.8 million salary, but expect Miami to try their damnedest to find a way ahead of the February 6th deadline now. Oh, God. Yeah, man, this sucks. I'm a big Jimmy Butler fan, but it really does sound like he's got a little bit of diva in him. Now, what I need to finish is Starting Five. That was, for those that aren't familiar, that's the Netflix show specifically following, I want to say it was LeBron, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler. Oh my God, who were the last two? Anthony Edwards. I can't remember who the fifth one was. There's Sabonis, I think. I think it's also Sabonis. And so it was one of those situations where they're similar to quarterback or receiver. You're following them during the games. You're following them in their personal life, all that kind of stuff. And so far, it was pretty good. This is about last season. So the funny thing is them talking up Jason Tatum be like, I gotta get a ring. And we obviously, how the fuck that went this past summer. Excuse my language. I just am still very bitter about what went down last summer. But I say all that to say, man, that look, I think Jimmy is a fantastic player. I think he's really funny, his whole emo hair thing, all the stuff that was going on, was very, very interesting. But in the same breath, man, if you're going to be a distraction to the team, if you're going to be a hurt to the team, then you're not going to be able to stick around with the team. I ain't got time for that shit, man, especially in a Pat Riley-led organization, man. You ain't got time for that. Just ship you off and go find somebody else and somebody that's willing to take on that drama one way or the other. I think Jimmy is still good enough and still young enough that he can go somewhere else, but Pat Riley has tried. He has tried, and it clearly has not worked. This was not a good fit, and it's time for them to move on. And I don't blame them. I fully understand that, and I give them all the credit in the world to be like, we got to do something else, because how can you be serious? How can you be taken seriously in the East if you're just out here in the streets like that? You know what I mean? So all that being said, man, I think that Jimmy will find a new home. I think he will find the opportunity to be a starter again and to be that guy. But I think his time with the Heat is just done, bro. That bridge is fully burnt at this point. It's clear I've had a long day because I just had a bunch of dark jokes going in my head, and I'm just going to keep them to myself because, I'm not trying to get canceled doing my 5th or 6th live show for this. But yeah, man, I think it's time for him to go somewhere else. But let me know what you think in the comments. Go down there. Let me know how you feel about Jimmy, all that kind of stuff. If you think he still got it and whatnot, we'll talk about it. Let me see. I see a couple comments here, and then I'll get to the super chats and the Streamlabs, which again, I'll put that in the chat if you want to check that out. But let's see. What did I see? The D Woods did an interview. Now I was going to cover that, and I didn't this particular time because this stuff was breaking today. But on the next episode, I will make sure to come back to the D Woods interview for sure. What else do I see in here? Maybe the Trailblazers. It's not a bad idea. That's all the stuff there. So let's jump over to the super chats and the Streamlabs. First from Taylor Schoon, thank you so much for the donation, saying first of hopefully 10 plus from the chat. Good luck. Thanks for all you do. Tyler, thank you so much. I appreciate the love. I'm just trying to keep bringing quality content for you guys wherever I can. But yeah, I genuinely appreciate that you guys are being very supportive, man, of all the stuff I'm doing on the channel. Eric Kirby comes in with the super chat. Mr. Marshall, settle this debate. Renegade by Jay-Z and M. Who had the better verse? Remember, you were black. Don't lose your black card. I won't. The answer is Eminem. It's not even close. Jay got burned on his own fucking track. Let's keep it really a buck. I actually was going to do a reaction to the Eminem diss song that leaked that never came out, man. And I just, it's the time has passed. If you guys still want to see me do it, but essentially people were like, hey, yo, if you, this is why people really didn't pick fights with M. Like, Ja Rule tried it and his whole career ended. I'm sorry. That was like peak Eminem days. And that verse on Renegade was ridiculous. It doesn't mean that Jay wasn't good, but like, in the same way that even though I don't really rock with Nicki Minaj anymore, when you listen to Monster, she burned everybody. She burned Kanye, she burned Rick Ross, she burned everybody else. Pull up in a monster automobile gangster with a bad bitch that came from Sri Lanka. Like, dude, she just, and the same thing with M. I can't think of one of his better featured verses, man. It was absolutely fucking phenomenal up there. So you try and take my black card and take it out my cold dead motherfucking fingers, I'll tell you that much. I was just playing, man. But thank you so much for the donation and the question, man. Chris A. Ulrich in Banshee was the perfect audition for Sinestro. Now, I haven't seen Banshee. Everybody tells me that I would like the show, but I haven't seen Banshee, so I don't know one way or the other, but it sounds like he did a good job, and that would have been the move to put him in Sinestro. So I'm here for it, man. Like, again, I think he's really talented. I liked him in Counterpart. One of my good friends, Emil Walker, he was Gorgon in Inhumans. He was in Moonfall. He's done a lot of stuff over the years. He was on Counterpart for a reoccurring guest star, and so I watched the show because of that. And he was Ulrich was great in that. So I'm here for it. Again, this cast seems super, super strong. The show is going to be absolutely crazy. And then the last one that we have at the moment from Blue Milk. Thank you so much for the donation. They could use Hugh Jackman as Old Man Logan and have X-23 as the main Wolverine on the roster. Also in 2040, Cowboys making their comeback. Mark my words, F the Chiefs. I'm going to tell you right now, man. Cowboys are toast until Jerry sells or dies. And he's never going to sell and he's never going to die because he's clearly made a deal with the devil. Cowboys are forever cursed to just be bad going forward, man. I am so sad about that. I'll swing back to Hugh Jackman in just a minute. This hiring, I didn't want to necessarily talk to Cowboys news, but it's fine. We hired our offensive coordinator who has been a perennial assistant and or coordinator, has never really gotten up to it. We were told that the coaching was the problem with the team, other than not getting a few personnel pieces like a running back and some run defense, and you let the coach go. So the way you decide to follow that up is to then keep those coaches and let them now run instead of having the Super Bowl winning coach who they seem to be fighting for. What? That doesn't make any sense. Jerry clearly does not care. What Jerry cares about is if he makes enough waves in that people are like, God, they're so stupid. People love to hate watch them. He almost makes more money hate watching, which is wild because if you won a goddamn Super Bowl, you could go back and start claiming America's team again. Unfortunately, somewhere between the Patriots and the Chiefs and whatever, that title has been stripped to the Cowboys, even though he trademarked it to the Dallas Cowboys. That shit has been stripped. All right, so I just don't care anymore at this point because fuck the Eagles forever. Let's go Chiefs. Go make the three-peat history. Now, mind you, a lot of people are talking about it being rigged just because there were some bad calls made there. I have been kind of on the ref's ass for some questionable ass calls that have happened with the Chiefs over the last couple of weeks. Some of these I don't feel as inclined as people are going on about, but it is what it is, man. If the NFL really did do that, if they have some directive came out, it'll all come out eventually one way or the other, and you'll reap what you sow. But I will say this is going to be a pretty good matchup because this is a significantly stronger Eagles team than when they played 2 Super Bowls ago. So I'll be very curious to see how this all goes down in a couple of weeks. I really hope they pull this off because I can't deal with these fucking Eagles if they end up with a goddamn chip, man. Oh, God. My whole life is flashing before my eyes. Whew, Lord. Okay, so that is going to be the Blerd Breakdown. I want to thank each and every one of you for coming through, man, and kicking it with me and checking out the stories, bro. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit the notification bell, throw a like on this video. I greatly, greatly appreciate everybody that has interacted and been in this chat and watched this whole thing. Again, I will clip out this in the previous streams that we've done, and those will come up over time here. But some of the cool stuff that I've got going on. I finished recording my Sonic 3 reaction. I finished recording Captain America: The First Avenger. I'm working on editing those. I'm almost done with another edit. I was supposed to drop the 2024 best of for me. Let me wrap that up today. But as you can see, it's a mess in here. I'm packing. You know what I'm saying? Like we're trying to get up out of this motherfucker. So that is where you will see a lot of pre-recorded content, including this Wednesday. I'm going to be on set, which I'm excited about. But because I'm going to be on set, there is a possibility I won't make it home in time. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pre-record an episode for Wednesday evening at 6 p.m. Pacific. It'll be here for you. If I make it, I will just pull the recording. If I don't make it, then the recording will go. So I'll either do it live or not. You know what I'm saying? So if I do it live, there'll probably be more relevant stories. If I don't, I'm going to be pulling stuff from like midday tomorrow, and that'll be what we talk about on Wednesday. But yeah, other than that, I'm hoping to get the 24 and the Sonic stuff out this week for you. I have not edited a reaction before, so I don't know how long that is going to take. I love that I started with a 90-minute movie and not like a 3-hour fucking epic, because it's a lot of clip out shit, but we will see what happens, man. Once again, I want to thank each and every single person that's in here. Got some other stuff that I'll be announcing soon, but that's pretty much the schedule this week. Wednesday, another episode of Blerd Breakdown, and then the 24 video and a reaction sometime later this week, if not this weekend. So with that, I see one more, it looks like a super sticker from Caleb Richardson. Thank you so much for that. Every single penny counts. I appreciate everybody. New Black Panther on Marvel Rivals. What new Black Panther? Are you talking about the one that he kind of looks like he's in like an old school caveman outfit? Because that's been around for a while. I've seen that one for a minute. That was like early on with all of that. Oh, and then the other thing. Oh, Eric Kirby, Mr. Marshall, speaking of that Smack You by M, if it was released back then, do you think they would have tried to kill him back then? Potentially. You I didn't hear the whole thing. I just heard a bar or two. And if people would want, I wonder if this thing will let me add a poll in here. What does this button do? Oh yeah. Okay. Should I do a reaction to the Eminem leaked diss track? Nah, son. Okay, there we go. Do a baby little poll here in the 11th hour of whether or not I should do a reaction to the Eminem leaked diss track. You let me know. But again, the goal is to, we're driving to 5,000 subscribers. That's the next goal that we're trying to hit right now. So I greatly appreciate each and every one of you telling everybody about it and whatnot and checking this stuff out and sharing this out. But again, yes, DC needs their version of Rivals ASAP as well. But, you know, for now, I am reveling in this Marvel Rivals game. It's absolutely fucking fantastic. But I'm going to get out of here. Thank you again to everybody that joined us today. I will see y'all on the flip, yo. Peace.